In an industry driven by compromise and calculation, Gregory Sierra emerged as something entirely different, perhaps even dangerous. The word dangerous in this case had nothing to do with violence. It came from an independence of thought so unwavering that it made people uncomfortable. He was a man willing to challenge Hollywood's most powerful figures, willing to walk away from lucrative contracts for the sake of a single principle, self-respect. Gregory Sierra did not follow the well-paved path of an A-list star, where individuality is often traded for fame. Instead, he chose the path of a true artist, someone who valued preserving his identity and personal dignity more than any praise from audiences or critics. Many people within the entertainment industry viewed him as difficult, a man who constantly frustrated producers by rejecting stereotypical roles rooted in prejudice. Yet beneath that tough exterior and steadfast attitude was a deeply thoughtful individual, someone who had endured profound tragedies from childhood through the height of his career. Today, we begin to uncover why a man with every opportunity to become a major star instead chose the role of a powerful outsider. Gregory Sierra, an artist too talented to ignore, yet too principled to be tamed by the entertainment system. To understand why Gregory Sierra possessed a determination so dangerous to Hollywood producers, we must travel back to the smoke-filled streets of Spanish Harlem, New York in 1937. This was not a gentle childhood filled with lullabies, it was a harsh struggle for survival. At the age of 6, when a child should have been surrounded by love and protection, Gregory experienced the pain of being abandoned by his parents. The absence of affection did not break him, but it left a deep scar. He was sent to live with his aunt in an Irish neighborhood, a completely unfamiliar environment where loneliness became his constant companion. Imagine a young boy isolated and adrift amid racial tensions and the temptations of street gangs. It was an incredibly fragile boundary. Gregory stood dangerously close to a life of wrongdoing, where violence and crime seemed like the only means for a child without support to assert any sense of power. But fate smiled upon him through an unexpected twist. The event that changed his life took place at an acting school. Gregory had no ambition to become an actor at the time. He had simply accompanied a friend for moral support. Yet life is often decided by moments of pure chance. When the director asked for an audition, it was Gregory, not his friend, who was chosen. The stage lights, from the very first moment they touched him, became the antidote to the suffering of an abandoned child. On the Shakespearean stage, he was no longer a homeless, nameless boy. He became kings, warriors, and noble souls. He fell in love with theatre with such passion and purity that he once declared, "I would be happy performing theatre for the rest of my life rather than chasing the cheap glamour of Hollywood." That was the true origin of the dangerous quality that would later define Gregory Sierra. A man who had stood on the edge of darkness, who had been abandoned by his own family, found light through art. Because he had experienced the cruelty of fate firsthand, he never allowed anyone, not even the most powerful executives in the film industry, to diminish his dignity. He entered entertainment not to beg for a place, but to protect the self-respect he had built through sweat and tears. When he arrived in Los Angeles in the late 1960s, Gregory Sierra brought with him the spirit of a Shakespearean stage warrior and confronted a harsh reality. Hollywood viewed Latino actors as little more than cheap seasoning. If you were not playing a criminal in a sleeveless shirt, you were cast as a rough police officer or a waiter with an exaggerated accent. To Gregory, this was not merely unfair, it was professionally insulting. When he joined Sanford and Son, 1972 to 1975, Gregory made a bold move. In a program where ethnic stereotypes were sometimes used as comic material, he refused to turn the character of Julio Fuentes into a caricature. He gave Julio intelligence, strength of character, and unwavering self-respect. He did not perform so audiences could laugh at his name or accent. He performed so audiences would respect the character. It was a small but symbolic victory. For the first time, a Latino man appeared in primetime television as a fully realized human being rather than a damaging stereotype. But the peak of Gregory's conflict with the system came during the television series Barney, where he portrayed Detective Chano, a passionate and principled police officer. In one scene, producers asked him to insert Spanish words into his dialogue whenever the character became angry. To them, it added cultural depth and comic flavor. To Gregory, it was degrading. He recognized it as a cheap stereotype. Why should a professional police officer suddenly switch languages merely to satisfy audience expectations rooted in prejudice? Gregory refused. He openly challenged the decision, insisting that a person's intelligence and anger did not need to be stamped with their native language to appear authentic. He would rather be written out of the program after the second season, rather than continue serving as a puppet for misguided stereotypes. His decision to leave Barney Miller shocked the television industry. Many could not understand how an actor could be so crazy as to turn his back on fame for the sake of personal principles. But for Gregory, it was the moment he asserted ownership over his own soul. He did not work for Hollywood, he worked for art. And it was precisely this uncompromising attitude that made him both feared and respected by directors. Some wounds continue to bleed no matter how much time passes. If Gregory Sierra's professional life was a battle against external prejudice, his personal life became a long struggle against a grief that could never be fully named. In 1976, Gregory married Susan Pollock. To him, Susan was not merely a life partner. She was the only true refuge he had ever known, after a childhood filled with separation and uncertainty. In Susan's embrace, the man who had spent his life standing firm against the world, who had built emotional walls to protect his self-respect, finally found tenderness. For the first time, he began to believe in a future free from loneliness. Yet life often reserves its cruelest chapters for those who have already suffered the most. Just 2 years after their wedding, in 1978, tragedy struck. Susan died by suicide, leaving Gregory devastated and facing a void that nothing could ever fill. We will never know exactly what was happening in Susan's mind, nor the depth of the pain Gregory carried within that empty room. He never spoke publicly about the tragedy. What people did notice was that Gregory Sierra seemed different after 1978. He still had the same face and the same remarkable acting ability, but his eyes appeared to have retreated into a place of darkness that no one could reach. The event profoundly reshaped him. It did not break him, but it made him quieter and more detached from the superficial glamour of Hollywood than ever before. If he had previously fought for professional dignity, after this loss, he fought to protect the little peace that remained within his soul. He became a man who carried his pain with quiet pride. He did not turn to alcohol, nor did he seek comfort in fleeting romances. Instead, he chose to confront emptiness through perseverance. This is the key to understanding Gregory Sierra. Every accusation that he was difficult, every claim that he was stubborn, and every role he later refused stemmed from a heart that had experienced profound heartbreak. He no longer had the time or patience for anything superficial or artificial. He had witnessed the fragility of life firsthand, and because of that, he chose to live each day as a statement of his own dignity. By 1984, Gregory Sierra found himself facing an opportunity that virtually every actor in Hollywood would have dreamed of: the role of Lieutenant Lou Rodriguez in Miami Vice, the iconic crime series that helped redefine television culture in the 1980s. This was not a minor supporting role. It was the perfect launchpad into the ranks of A-list stardom, with the promise of wealth and fame for years to come. Yet after only 4 episodes, Gregory did something that stunned Hollywood. He asked to leave the show. The producers were furious, and the media speculated endlessly about the reasons, ranging from internal conflicts to the arrogance of a difficult star. However, the truth behind his decision was astonishingly simple. He simply did not enjoy living in Miami. For an artist who had already lost the woman he loved and endured years of loneliness, Gregory had come to realize that where he lived, the atmosphere around him, and his personal peace mattered more than any paycheck. He was unwilling to sacrifice his quality of life for the sake of remaining in an environment that made him unhappy. The on-screen death of Lou Rodriguez was ultimately the result of his decision to sever ties with the series. This act became perhaps the clearest example of what many people described as Gregory Sierra's dangerous nature. In a Hollywood system where actors often exchange personal freedom for success, Gregory remained an outsider who could not be tamed. He refused to see himself as a commodity to be traded. Leaving Miami Vice was not an impulsive act, it was a declaration of personal sovereignty. Gregory Sierra proved that true success is not measured by how famous you become, but by whether you have the courage to reject what does not belong in your life. He chose peace of mind, even if it meant walking away from the superstar status that so many others desperately sought. If Hollywood is a grand symphony, Gregory Sierra was one of its most powerful low notes, the element that gives the entire composition depth. After rejecting the glamorous traps of fame, he did not disappear. On the contrary, he enjoyed a vibrant and independent career on his own terms. With more than 125 acting credits, Gregory transformed his name into a mark of quality. From classic films such as Papillon, 1973, alongside the legendary Steve McQueen, and The Towering Inferno, 1974, to multi-generational television series such as The X-Files, Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, and Murder, She Wrote, Gregory consistently appeared with a commanding presence that was impossible to overlook. There is one particularly revealing detail about his career. In many major productions, after all the A-list stars had been credited, his name often appeared at the very end of the cast list with the phrase, "and Gregory Sierra." In the film industry, that position is often reserved for the most respected performers, those whose presence alone lends credibility and prestige to a production. He did not need to be the first name on the poster. He only needed to be the actor who made audiences pay attention the moment he appeared on screen. His versatility seemed limitless. He could portray a cold-hearted villain, an honorable man, or even comedic characters in films such as Hot Shots, Part 2, 1993, with remarkable charm. Gregory Sierra was never confined by the system because he always found a way to breathe life into his characters, making even supporting roles feel indispensable. He did not pursue wealth. His estimated net worth of $2 million was modest compared he might have accumulated had he chosen to compromise. Instead, he pursued excellence in every frame. In his later years, Gregory Sierra withdrew into a quieter life in California with his wife, Helen Tabor. He stayed away from studio spotlights and lavish parties, choosing instead the life of a man who had found peace in life's simplest pleasures. When faced with stomach and liver cancer, Gregory showed neither fear nor despair. He approached the final chapter of his life with the same dignity, calmness, and self-respect that had defined his battle against Hollywood stereotypes for more than 50 years. He passed away peacefully on 4th of January 2021 at the age of 83. Gregory Sierra did not leave behind a vast financial empire, nor did he leave behind scandalous headlines. What he left behind was a legacy of self-respect, a living testament that an artist can achieve success without sacrificing who they are. He proved that in a system willing to turn people into entertainment puppets, preserving one's identity is perhaps the most courageous and dangerous act of all. Gregory stepped away from the stage of life, but his name, and Gregory Sierra, will remain a lasting mark, reminding us of a man who chose to live as a free artist rather than as a star imprisoned by expectations. We have now reached the end of this inspiring journey through the life of Gregory Sierra, the rebel who refused to compromise. Can you feel the determination that defined his life? It was not a life filled with flashy victories, but it was a complete triumph of the human spirit.